Rosie, hi. How's your mom?
This time I will call this special meeting of Fort Lavaca City Council to order. This Wednesday, November 13th, 2024 at 5:33 PM. And since this is a special meeting, we'll skip the usual formalities. And I will ask at this time, do we have anyone that's signed up to speak before council that wants to present their comments to council? We have Gary Jackson. 3 minutes.
Gary Jackson. Is
911.
that the same guy?
Hello, my name is Gary Jackson. I gave a speech to y'all on September 11th last year. I came again today. I want to put the fear of God in every one of your souls. I'm begging for your help. You think I'm exaggerating when I say I can put the fear of God in your soul? Have y'all ever heard of that term before in technology? Did you know you can beam high frequency of 65,000 hertz through a dish and modulate that with the audio you want to carry? And when you beam that dish at your head, you will hear my voice. The message I convey would only be heard by you, and a dish could be aimed at every one of you. And while I'm giving my speech, you would hear from inside your head a different message. I'm serious as a heart attack technology. Today, did you know you could put atomic bombs in the size of a suitcase? They can make weapons that will shut down all communication through electromagnetic waves.
How big of a suitcase?
Is the inventor of everything brought to the 20th century.
Just curious.
When you're computing the logic and, or, nor, not. Tesla, Nikola Tesla has brought everything to the 20th century. And one of the things he brought was energy, frequency, and vibration, the secret to the universe. On 911, an airplane did not hit the building. I swear to God, that is an absolute fact. And I want everybody on the city council to know this. I want all public servants, from policemen, ditch digger, legal representatives, I want them all to look into this information. The book is in the library. Dr. Judy Wood published in 2010. Where did the towers go? It is documented physical evidence, irrefutable. She took it to first the New York Southern District Court, suing the NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology, and several of the military contractors that were part of this. Oh, well, we can't get this into the court. We got, the new appeals court and attempts to get this before the Supreme Court. The corruption in government is beyond belief.
Is this anything like when I was a kid, we used two cans in a string to communicate with one another?
There you go.
Back in the dinosaur days?
Vibration string, the vibration carried on that 65,000, 20,000 is the highest you could possibly hear. You can't hear the amplitude of that signal, but I can modulate it and put it in your head, that voice. So I wanted an email I sent to you just before I came. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. That's a quote by Mark Twain. And it says, if you think passenger plane hit the World Trade Center, then yes, you have been fooled and very gullible. The next picture, my printout didn't go, so that's why I didn't print each a copy, but it's a reference to the film Clockwork Orange, where they were brainwashing this guy to modify his behavior. They strapped him to a chair, had a little propped his eyes open, dropped magic potion in his eyes and forced him to watch the stuff and learn and change his behavior. He would become violently ill if his thoughts were in that direction they were trying to modify. says, I can't force you to learn the truth. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. You look into MK Ultra program by the CIA. You look into the Panama Papers, the Pandora Papers, the release from so many other people, Edward Snowden, what the government is doing with their spy technology and so forth, the control they used by people like Keith, I'll be in names. I'll quit, but you know who I'm speaking of, involved with Jeffrey Epstein, the P. Diddy, the control of Hollywood, blackmail, corruption. The CIA is behind all of this, the invasion of Panama, domination of third world countries, the dictatorship. America's CIA has been totally evil. Dr. Judy Wood took the national, I told you that part, a picture of her, this is on that email, said she is a PhD. She's been removed from Wikipedia. All her 60 research papers before 911 are hard to come by.
Gary, I'm gonna have,
Library.
Gary, I'm gonna have to shut you down in just a few minutes. You've already used up your 3 minutes.
Like I
You have a
said,
point that you wanna
something
give
I
the
want
council?
to help to get the information to all city employees. And the purpose is to get this book into the school library. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Barry.
I'd like to know what size suitcase that was.
Mayor, I do have something I would like to announce. Congratulations are in order. Our Brittany Hogan, our finance director, has passed all of her exams and she's now a certified government finance officer. And also, last Friday, we learned that the finance department has earned the Certificate of Achievement Excellence in Financial Reporting Award from GFOA for last year's audit. So congratulations. Good job.
Is there anybody else that needs it?
Mr. Dow wants to speak, but I think he wants to speak on agenda item number 9.
Just wait.
So whatever way you can discuss that. Right, we had some things come up this week and there should be, we need a change in the agenda. We're going to remove agenda items 1 through 3. I could have somebody make a motion to do so. Jody, explain agenda item number 7.
We table only to next month or?
No, 1 and 2 are removed. I mean, as they're presented, they're removed.
I'll make a motion. What's 3?
3 was the reimbursement resolution.
So that's gonna be,
That will be brought back, but in a different format than what we've got here.
Just by removing.
all right, make a motion to remove items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
As presented.
Motion and second to remove agenda items 1 through 3. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none opposed, motion passes.
All right.
So then we'll move on to agenda item number 4. Consider the request of Project 15 Car Club for the use of the Bayfront Peninsula Pavilion for a free community Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday, November 23rd, 2024, and waiver of any fees related to the event.
So move.
I do have one correction. It should be project 51. I'm
15.
not 15.
Oh, that's a whole different project.
That's right. I missed
Sounds too much like areas.
Yeah.
This agenda item is a group, it's the car club, and they just want to do a free Thanksgiving dinner to those that might not otherwise have it. It'll be at the Bayfront Pavilion. They're just requesting waiver of fees.
Make a motion, we approve the Project 51 Car Club
Second.
at the Bayfront Peninsula Park.
Okay.
Second.
It's already, those two.
Right, we have a motion and a second approving the request of the Project 51 Car Club for the use of the Bayfront Peninsula Park Pavilion as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. You're not opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Was it? Just tell me if I missed it, but was it on purpose to skip the consent agenda items?
Oh, no.
I mean, but it's not called consent agenda, but you could approve them all at one time still.
Yeah.
You don't have to say those words, but you could just approve all of them with one motion.
We'll have to back up a little bit and go to the action items.
The first action items.
The first action items, not the second. The consent agenda items.
Yes.
We have several items in the consent agenda. Minutes of the October 7th, 2024 special meeting, minutes of the October 14th, 2024 regular meeting, minutes of the October 28th, 2024 workshop session, review of our credit card statement, receiving our monthly financial highlight report, receiving the Victoria Economic Development Corporation monthly report, ratifying a lease of Nautical Landings, Suite 1D to Port Lavaca Plumbing, ratifying the lease of Nautical Landing Suite 5 to Bay Limited, and receiving our quarterly financial investment report for July 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024.
So move.
Can we talk about the credit card statement?
You can pull it.
Pull that one out of the item.
So which one's gonna be pulled? Credit card.
Action item.
Okay, all right.
With the exception of the consent agenda item D, review of the credit card statements. We have a motion to approve the remaining minutes.
Yeah, so everything but the credit card, yes.
made a second. Second. This one.
With the exception of agenda item D. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. None opposed, motion passes. Now we'll move on to consent agenda item number D and discuss it as an agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so just looking through the credit card list, there's some, it's just kind of vague, like. If you go to Academy, what are you buying there? Like, there's just questions that a citizen could ask, and I'm not sure how they go about getting those answers, you know?
They contact the.
So you,
I can provide exactly what they bought.
okay,
The credit card receipt and any sort of information. It should also be notated on the check register.
so then second, this previous month was a little higher than usual, and that's because I know as a member of city council that everyone went to the
Conference.
yeah, the conference, that's right. So, but, you know, normal citizens, they probably, they're not gonna know that, but. Is there a procedure for like, since I'm going tomorrow to a conference in Bastrop, shouldn't I have some sort of accountability that I'm going to this conference, I'm getting useful information for the city of Port Lavaca and its citizens? Like, is there anything out there that I need to come home and show someone?
I mean, you can,
You can request your mileage and.
What's that?
yeah, as far as reimbursement, but as far as the knowledge you gained,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
very helpful, yeah, to do a brief report or something that we can share with the entire council.
I mean,
What you gleaned or anything you learned from this conference, yeah.
and that, does that apply currently? There's no precedent on that?
There's not any hard and fast rule to do that. I know after TML, we tried to do that on occasion. It's not, you know,
I have tried to do it, but nobody ever does it.
I know it's,
Person does it.
What's it look like? What-
it's,
It's enough. It's basic.
yeah, because everybody, you know, when we go to TML, everybody's kind of going to different ones. And so we can share what we gleaned and what we learned at each of the sessions. But we haven't had any kind of formal presentation, no. But it's something we could look at in a workshop setting, perhaps.
I know that typically when someone like Tim and I or Daniel and I go to the conference, we talk about the workshops that we were in and what we got from it. You know, okay, was it, did you feel like it was valuable or not?
But we had talked about all people that go should write a report when they get back, you know, just to justify the expense, well, to ensure that the expense was justified.
Right.
But
See, that's kind of what made me ask the question, because like if I go to this one tomorrow, all in all, yeah, the hotel is probably gonna be $700-800. And then a citizen could see this credit card statement here and say, well, they're just doing free vacations and just want to avoid that. I just want some accountability.
Yeah, we can do that. I know we did better last year than we did this year with reports, but I'll get with staff that went and we'll get something put together for TML.
All right, that was it.
Still need to approve it.
we'll have to approve that item.
You want to make a motion to approve the credit card statement? You don't want to make that one?
I don't know, Rosie had some concern, but yeah, a motion to approve action item D, review the credit card statement this time.
Second,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second approving consent agenda item D. Review the credit card statement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Okay, we'll return to our regular action item agenda. We were on agenda item number 5. Consider an amendment to the events management and communications contract with the Chamber of Commerce. Jody?
Mayor, council, as discussed by council at the October regular meeting, during the discussion of the rent amount for the Something More Media lease, we're proposing an amendment to the event management, marketing, communication services agreement with the Chamber of Commerce to increase the compensation for these services by $160 per month, which will cover the increased cost for rental of the office space used in part by the Chamber's consultant, Tanya French, in providing the services of this agreement. The current contract amount is $90,000 annually. So the proposal is to amend the last sentence of item 2 to reflect a total compensation, annual compensation of $91,920. Included in your packet also is a copy of the current agreement in its entirety.
So I don't know, I'm looking. Oh, I'll make a motion to approve. I was going to call Foley.
That was the right way to handle it. That's
Brad? $1,920.
yes, for the annual, for annual. Yes,
What's that?
$160. You said
What's
right.
the rental?
Yeah.
We have a motion?
Second.
Yeah,
Second.
Motion and second approving the First Amendment to the services agreement. First Amendment to the events management communications contract with the Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $91,920 as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. All right, we move to agenda item number 6, consider First Amendment to the services agreement with the Chamber of Commerce for Visitor Center and Bauer Booking Agent Services. Jody?
Mayor, council, the city and the chamber entered into an agreement around June of 2020 for the services for the Bauer, handle the Bauer booking. Yeah. And recently we realized that we had allowed that to expire. But, you know, both parties have continued to operate under this agreement as though it was still in place. So, and in this First Amendment, the agreement is incorporated by reference. The city and the chamber are hereby, we're proposing that we agree to extend the term of the agreement through September 30th of 2026. And state that the extension shall become effective October 1st, 2023, when it had expired. No, there are no other changes to the agreement.
Cleaning up the dates. Cleaning up the dates.
Yeah, I mean, we basically, I mean, it expired September 30th, 2023, and we didn't renew it at that time. We should have.
So moved.
Second it.
So we have a motion and a second approving the First Amendment to the services agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, Visitor Center and Bauer Booking Agent Services. As presented, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Not opposed, motion passes. Judy, you want to do agenda item 7 last?
Yes.
So we'll move to agenda item number 8. Consider approval of an interlocal agreement between the city of Fort Lavaca and the city of Palacios, Texas for code enforcement training and support.
Yeah, Mayor Council, in your packet is a proposed interlocal agreement between the city of Lavaca and the city of Palacios for code enforcement training and support. We've got Cindy Raleigh with us this evening. She's the city manager from Palacios.
Yes.
Cindy, you want to just give us a little brief update on what's going on and how we can help? And how we can help Palacios.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City of Port Lavaca. Thank you for having us and considering this ILA. Joe and I have worked closely together since I came on board almost 3 years ago. And it's important that we work together as teams across this region and area. Right now, we are working to train up our new code enforcement officer. And she's not able to get that certification unless she is sponsored by an acting officer. So this really helps out. We have an agreement that was just passed with the city of Bay City last night. We're just trying to keep it regional so that we can get as much help from each other as possible and continue the neighborly efforts.
So are there any questions? Derek's here to answer any as well too, but basically it's just to help out with code enforcement. Guidance,
Mainly phone questions,
yeah.
answering questions, training.
Just to have the freedom to call each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we don't anticipate it being overly burdensome by any means.
So he won't be passing out pink tickets on people.
No.
No, but we'll probably call.
Or by getting guidance or, yeah.
What's that?
So you won't be going over there and actually doing like a week of training or having her follow you or something like that?
She might come here.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, she may come over here and be a shadow, maybe for a few days, do a shadow in Bay City. It's good to see how other cities do things. I mean, I'm just learning a lot just from your council meeting this evening. See how you operate that. So I'll be learning.
Yeah, and also like the letters we send out, how the procedures are with citations, things like that, the forms that we fill out might be beneficial to them as well. So we could just pass that information along to them.
But it consistent across the board of what we're sending message to all of our residents.
Derek, you on board with this?
Yes, sir.
He used to be he used to be with, when you were with VV, you did
Yes.
Palacios as well, right?
Sure did.
I'll make a motion,
you have another question?
Well, just the direct cost reimbursement for direct costs that were referred to driving gas and mileage over there.
Any direct costs that were associated with what we're doing. Yes, we have to drive over there in a time that would be involved, associated with this agreement. Yes. And we would work that out ahead of time. We're not going to go do it and then send her a bill. We'll agree that, yeah, we're going to come over this day and we're anticipate it's going to take this much time, and we'll work that out before we, both agree before we go do that.
I could foresee that possibly if something was taken to court and they need a licensed officer to present the case
Yeah.
in a situation like that, especially.
Is this now till forever
Well,
It's a one-year contract.
or no?
right. I mean, it's until we decide to terminate the agreement.
But yeah, it's not really a contract, it's just an agreement.
Right.
For renewal each year.
She recently lost her code enforcement officer, so they're starting from scratch. So,
Yes, so either party may terminate the agreement by providing a 30 days written notice to it.
And I hope that we would renew it every year to continue that.
It's the spirit of regulation.
So,
So Wayne, you made a motion.
well, I was, but
To Port O'Connor, right, for utilities?
Yes, we have an
Ask the
interlocal
question,
component.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So can I make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between City of Port Lavaca and the City of Palacios for the code enforcement training and support?
Second.
Yeah.
You can make it, and that was your.
Yes, can I make one?
Yeah.
You can.
I didn't know if you all through asking questions or not. I want to interrupt that.
We have a motion and a second approving the interlocal agreement between the city of Port Lavaca and the city of Palacios for code enforcement training and support as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
All right, agenda item number 9. Consider a recommendation of the Port Commission to approve the lease for Track 3 at Harbor Refuge. Present that.
Yeah, Mayor Council, Encore Dredging Partners LLC entered into a lease agreement for Track 3, which is 4.3 acres at the Harbor of Refuge, on December 1st of 2022. And this is scheduled to expire on November 30th, 2024, in just a couple weeks. Monthly rent amounts paid through September 30th of 2023 were $3,000. Through September 30th of 2024 were $3,036.90. And beginning October 1st is $3,076.68.
Not just MCI.
Yes, the annual increases were based upon the change in the municipal cost index. In October, the Port Commission authorized me to negotiate a new 3-year lease. And has been the practice to do so, take into consideration the valuation that was provided by Valbridge Property Advisors in their appraisal report that was dated April 2023. Based upon that appraisal report, the value conclusion of this track, including the metal building that is on site, was established at $580,000. The typical rate of return used in calculating annual rent revenue is 10%. Therefore, the indicated annual rent rate per square foot reported by Valbridge is 31 cents per square foot, which results in a monthly rental rate of $4,833.33. Now, the Port Commission held a special meeting on November 6th to discuss this new lease. Encore was present and had stated that they were willing to pay $3,500 a month for a 3-year lease. Then with continued dialogue and discussion, and recognizing that they do also lease from the city Track 11 at the port, at the Harbor Refuge. Track 11 has 1 more year on the lease before it expires. So the suggestion from Encore was that instead of trying to negotiate a 3-year lease, let's look at trying to negotiate a 1-year lease or 2-year, whatever. It's tried to negotiate a 1-year lease so that then to get tracks 3 and 11 on the same lease cycle. So after further discussion, the Port Commission voted to recommend a 1-year lease at $4,833.33 per month, in line with the data provided by the 2023 Valbridge appraisal report. Encore it did submit to me a counter stating that, again, they were willing to pay $3,500 and requested that they be able to come and speak with council at this meeting tonight regarding the amount for the proposed amount for the lease. We've got Chipper Dow Chipper, you want to stay? And then, and if Hillary is on Zoom, Hillary Frankie with Encore is on Zoom. And in your packet is a copy of both of the counter offers that we had received from Encore. The first of them was at the, countering with $3,500 a month for 3 years. And then the last one is the counter dated 11/08, which was for $3,500 per month for 1 year.
So track 3 is that where the old dump was or?
No, this is, track 3 is, there's a big metal building there. It's just on the north side of the track where the boat ramp is down at Harbor Refuge. Currently, there's a big dredge that's sitting in front of the track along the public dock. It is long, there's 100-foot wide public dock in front of track 3.
Now, track 11 is what?
Track 11 is the peninsula track that basically protects the Harbor Refuge. It's over on the east side.
Okay. And so they have a lease with 3 and 11.
Yes, and 11's is not up until this
I
time
thought-
next year.
At some point, they were trying to move over there where RLB was, where the actual dump was.
Well, no, I mean, if you recall, a few years ago, they were leasing where the old dump was. And then when we had issues with TCQ, we said, we switched and we said, we need you to move off of here. And we negotiated and moved
From
them
that
over to
peninsula.
track 11. Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah.
But their lease cycles are not synced. They're, like I said, 3 is fixing to expire, 11 doesn't expire for another year.
Mayor, we also had a representative from the Port Commission here.
Yes, and yeah, Robert Knox is with, I don't know,
Okay.
is Hillary on?
Yeah, she's on. I'm not sure she's going to speak or not. I'll speak for just a second.
Okay.
Although this is not what I do. I am boots on the ground in the back. My name is Chipper Dow. I've worked with Encore since its conception. Started dredging in about 20 years. I've been in the dredging industry. And one of my jobs at Encore is building and cultivating relationships. I travel all up and down the Gulf Coast, from Louisiana to Brownsville. And what I do is I go in and I meet landowners and municipalities, and I set up places for us to come in and do work on our dredges, depending on where we're dredging at, because dredging is all over the place. Port Lavaca is our home, though. This property that we're talking about, the recommendation, the increase that the Port Commission recommended is not so far-fetched. It's in the ballpark for somewhere in Houston or somewhere that's established. We got into this partnership with the city as an agreement, and that we were going to invest a lot of money in these properties, which we have upwards of $60,000, because when we first got on these properties, you couldn't even get on the property if it rained. There was no gravel, there was no nothing, there's nowhere to tie up, there's no mooring points. And we knew all this going into it, but we got into this relationship with the city to knowing all this, knowing that we were gonna have to dump a bunch of money in these properties, and we did. Track 4 is specifically, when we first got on it, the land was higher than the building. So every time it rained, the water shed through the building across to the other side to the ditch. So we had to build a concrete slab with a big culvert. We had to get some people in here, some contractors, to figure out what to do to stop that. So they built a concrete dam and gutter system, and we piped it. We brought in sewer to the property. We brought in water to the property. We've done a lot of improvements. Fine, it's all in the contract. It's going to stay. But my point is that Port Lavaca is our home. We don't want to be ran out of the county by these unrealistic. Some of it's unrealistic, and it's not the Port Commission as a whole. I just think that taking into consideration the partnership side and because I don't want to leave. I don't want to drive to Palacios every day to work. I don't want to not do business at any of these stores anymore. And this property that we have leased from y'all is one of 4 properties that we have leased in Calhoun County. We have 4 properties, 2 from the city, 1 across the street and 1 somewhere else in town. And again, I don't want to have to drive to Port Vaca to Palacios, but that's what's gonna happen. And we hope that we can just get this for another year or so and get the tracks on the same track so that they end at the same time, and then we can negotiate. It's hard to negotiate one, and then the other one's gonna come up next year. If there's gonna be you can't go from $5,000 a month to $28,000 a month on somebody and expect them just to eat it.
Yeah.
But, that's pretty much all I gotta say.
So how many employees do you guys have here at Encore?
Here at Encore, we have about 30, 60 on the dredges as well. Here locally in town, we have about 20 employees that stay here full-time residents, in Port Lavaca or surrounding counties, you know.
Because the improvements he made to the property, do you think that the person that actually did the calculations of $4,800 and something a month, do you think he looked at that and included that in making the value of the land go up?
No, I mean, those improvements, I don't think they were in place I think the report is dated April 2023. And that's probably, I don't know when, he didn't make any specific mention of the improvements. What the report says is the building is valued at $60,000. And the property, the land was valued at $520,000. That's based upon, I mean, it's appraisal, they go through and they look at other, comparable properties or comparable sales.
They looked at other buildings that had a wash through to it.
Okay, so was it Houston? Was it Corpus?
A lot of it was Corpus. I think 2 properties were in Port O'Connor. I'm trying to remember, most of it was in the Corpus area, but I think there were some up near Brazoria. But I think there was a total of like 11 or 12 properties that they looked at. But again, it's a snapshot in time, it's an appraisal report at that time in April of 2023.
I mean, again, this is not what I do, so. Did they calculate in all the employees that live here and work here and all the business they do with all the city and county and everything else?
Yeah, that's not part of their scope.
That's not gonna be part of that.
What is it? What is the difference between, you said, say Corpus or Palacios or whatever they have set up in their area? How is that different from Port Lavaca as far as
Year before last,
to be able to do the same things?
year before last, we had a job in Baytown, for instance. And I went up there and met Mr. Jennings. He owns some property right there on the bay and has a harbor, the big harbor. It's 15 acres. It's got a shop on it. It's got a big building on it. And it's 15 acres with a laydown yard and access to a full bulkheaded harbor where 2 dredges can fit in side by side. With tying points, mooring points, rock, you can go in anytime, and he charges $4,000 a month. And that's in Baytown.
So what about Palacios? Is there something, because you did mention Palacios.
Yes, sir. We went to Palacios. When this company first kicked off, we rented a place in Palacios to put all our pipeline together. We had 60,000 feet of pipe we had to weld together in 40-foot joints, and we rented a place there for about 6 months to do that. And yeah.
How much?
I don't remember I wasn't involved in that part.
But you have the rates from there that we looked at for our tariff, right?
Yeah, as far as what they're charging per square foot, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I mean, again, it basically, everything was boiling down to the appraisal report that we paid for. I mean, you can go and, go and pick apart whether this appraisal is right or wrong or high or low, but it is a licensed appraisal. And I'm not a licensed appraiser, so I'm not gonna,
second guess.
second guess that, but, you know, again, they're,
We did.
yeah, I understand.
We did, we went around and we looked on again, it's not an appraiser, it's a tax roll, but we went with the price of the same size and the closest we came to in the area for that kind of property without water access. $150,000, like most expensive piece of property, 4 acres that we could find. So I'm not saying, I mean, you can get that appraiser.
Yeah, again, it's 31 cents per square foot is the appraised value. And then again, looking at getting a 10% return is where we get the $4,833.33.
Are we comparing apples and apples?
Well, as I understand what an appraisal does is, no two properties are apples to apples, but then you look at these two and you look at the differences and you add or subtract based upon the differences in those two to where they have a methodology they use to try to look at how they compare across the board and come up with a figure.
Is our property more, I use the word primitive versus
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
together?
Yeah, yes, it is. Number one, there's not water access. You gotta pay different to get water access, you gotta pay different. You know, on this specific piece of property that we're talking about, tract 4, the whole reason we got the tract 4 was for the water access. And then we found out that wait a minute, that's a different rate. That's gonna be $200 a day, different rate if you're gonna use that. And it's just, yeah, it is different. It is different here. The fact that we couldn't even get on the property until we did these improvements ourselves, which we knew that going into it. And that's the partnership that I'm talking about, that I try to cultivate and try to build with Calhoun County, that it's not reciprocal at all with the port.
And again, track 3, as I stated before, it adjoins 100-foot wide public dock. And that's why track 3 is not technically waterfront, because that dock in front of it is a public dock. And so we have to lay daily charges associated with parking or fleeting there. And honestly, they haven't really been able to utilize in front of the dock since they signed the lease, because that big dredge is still, that arrested barge still there. And
Years.
it's still tied up in ports or whatever. I mean, they are paying us docking charges that this dredge is. But
The previous.
No, it's not it's the people that own dredge that's been hung up in the courts and it's parked there and it can't move. They are paying us.
Orion or whatever.
No,
Oh. Clay.
Oh,
but it's different. It's actually 3
It is, but
three parts, different owners. It's very complicated.
It can be moved. I talked to the U.S. Marshals, U.S. Service.
Yes, I mean,
It can be moved. This is not something that's locked down there. It's just taken up, it can be moved right across the harbor and left there. It's there for convenience for people who have to go on it every day and service it.
Jody, one other thing that you brought up to me that I don't think has come out either is you don't have interest from
Yeah,
others.
Oh, correct. Yeah, I mean, again, if we lose this, then, I would immediately, put it out for bids with a minimum bid of $4,833.33. But we have not, to my knowledge, and I talked to Jim, nobody has said anything about interested in taking this on. So we don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know that if.
And last time you put it out for bid, how many offers did you get?
On this track, I don't know. I don't remember if we've ever put this one out for bid. I mean, the last time we put track 9 out, the first time we didn't get any, and it sat dormant for about 1.5 years till we did it again. And then we did get Prestige did that here just a couple months ago. But,
We hear from Robert a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
does he have any comment about the?
Hi, I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me on Zoom?
Hillary wants to speak.
Yeah. I know y'all been talking and can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so first off, I apologize for not being able to be there in person. Unfortunately, I am in Louisiana for work. But I do thank y'all for allowing
you.
myself and Chipper to speak this evening. I just wanted to add a couple more things, just building off of Chipper. He did an excellent job kind of outlining what we've done at the property. And we did present that to the commission. We wanted that to be somewhat considered with the proposed increase. I know city council is like running a business. We may even have business owners that sit on the council. So it is really hard to swallow a 55% increase. Finding that out very quickly when a lease is up. Because we're forecasting years ahead, in our business. And so, yes, while on paper, the property is useful, we love it. We love the city of Port Lavaca. It's a very great place for dredging. It's got a rich history, a great workforce for dredging. A 55% increase, when I would say we've been a great tenant to the property, and leaving it and making it better than we arrived at. Was hard to swallow, and especially when we are proposing ourselves an increase of about 15%, which is pretty standard or acceptable. The main goal right here is to align these leases on the same timetable so that we can make a better business decision next year. If it is the city's wishes to increase these property, values and wanting to gain more rent for the property, we understand that. We looked at the Valbridge appraisal. We can understand going off of that, but for us right now, it was very hard to make this kind of a change in the forecast of our business about 6 weeks prior to the lease being up. So I think for us, it's kind of a medium ground to get us to next year. And I do want to add, and I'm glad that the question was asked about, if there was any other interest in the property. It seems like the quickest that the city would get another tenant here would optimistically be March of 2025. We're proposing continuing a lease with an extension at $3,500 a month. If you got a new tenant in starting March 1st that paid the $4,833.33 through the same lease time that we have, it's a net gain to the city of $1,500. That's if you have somebody kind of waiting there at the door. So again, I think Chipper did a great job of outlining that. I think what we are proposing, we're not trying to lowball anybody. We want to stay where we are because we've made the investment in the property, but swallowing a 55% increase that quickly is hard for any company to do. And at this point, I don't know if we'll be able to move forward with that. So I just wanted to put those comments out there for your consideration. I did see that the 2 letters I wrote were included in the agenda packet today. I'd encourage you to look through them if you can. We did do research. Now we do recognize that property appraisal values may not be reflective of market values, but what we did was take the closest commercial property to this property, look at the appraisal value. We tripled the average and it came up as half of what Valbridge had appraised the property value on a market value at. And so that's where we came up with the $3,500 a month. That's where that drove from. So some of our, I guess, kind of the backing of this decision's been included. Just wanted to go through that with you. And I am here with Chipper if y'all have any more questions. Thank you very much for your time.
And again, and the Port Commission had all that same information in their consideration.
Robert's on what he's like to say. I hear Robert.
Might need a workshop on this topic in general, not specific.
Everybody, I'm Robert Knox, I'm on the Port Commission. I'm relatively new to Port Lavaca, and I point that out simply because in the meeting tonight, seems to be a lot of emotion in the negotiations here. My background's in accounting. I've advanced degrees in finance and economics, so I'll qualify the statements I'm about to make to you guys tonight. I've got 30+ years of analyzing financial market data at the highest levels, ranging from companies with $1 million in gross revenues to $260 million in gross revenues that operate on the coast. When we talk about the Port Commission itself, I don't bring with it the history of the Port Commission because I'm relatively new to the Port Commission. If I felt that the Port Commission was acting unfairly, I would tell you. I hope to be the system of checks and balances there. The recommendation that the Port Commission made, you know, talk about the level of expertise there, is you've got at least 3 members who collectively have over 100 years of specialized experience in valuations, business, and one with specific maritime experience. So the recommendation isn't coming from an emotional state. It's not a shoot from the hip or a just let's pull the number out of the air. The commission sat down and utilized the data that came from an independent third party who specializes in appraisals. That appraisal was requested by taxpayers, funded by taxpayers, and we're respecting the taxpayers' dollars. That's all we're doing. So we're not putting any emotion in this. We're not trying to leverage anything here. We're just trying to be good stewards of the data given to us by an independent third party that has no skin in the game. Some of my concerns with this is that if we don't, well, first of all, is that we're finally getting the port to operate as a business. And I think that's been a long-term coming. It's exciting to see where we're going because we're actually getting things right, getting more systems in place, getting more structure. And that's very good for our stakeholders, that being taxpayers, that being the people who do business with us, such as Encore, such as Helena, such as all the shrimp boats out there. And so I'm very proud of where we're going. I choose to look at the future because I don't know the history of the Port Commission. So I choose not to look back and keep reflecting back on that. Whatever it was, it was. Today, we're just talking about what's fair. So when we look at the data, okay, and we talk about, you know, the recommendation, it's based on a third party's valuation. There's no personal bias, there's no professional bias, there's no emotional tendencies in these factors that they consider. When we look at the recommendations, they've allowed the tenant ample time to build additional cost basis associated with bringing the rent up to market value and they're giving them a 3-year lease. The potential to say, we'll step it up, okay? We know that the property right now is under market value. We need to get those market values up. And I think that was the agreement that, or the task that council gave us was, hey, commission, go out there, let's present a program and get us up to market value where we should be. Okay, and so we're doing that. When we look at the amount of money, I'm first talking in terms of percentages. 55% seems like a lot. Let's look at it dollar for dollar. They're proposing $3,500. We're proposing, I'll call it $5,000. That's a $1,500 a month, $18,000 1-year expense for a multi-million-dollar tenant. Then the context. They got 55%, $18,000. Okay. Whether we're going to align leases or not, what I can tell you, again, my background back in the day was bankruptcy. I worked for the U.S. Trustee's office. And so when we look at leases, there's no guarantee with any lease. Whether it's Encore, whether it's any tenant out there, there's no guarantee with any lease that we have out there. We learned that with LaQuay. Okay. There's no guarantee that the property that we're supposed to be good stewards of isn't going to be damaged in some way, or that tenant is not going to leave assets on that property that we have to clean up. Again, we learned that with LaQuay. the biggest issue I think that we have right now is that if we start negotiating, if we don't take a systematic approach that's based in logic, that's based in what we believe is fair, and keep it consistent, we are creating a slippery slope in how we negotiate, not just rent with tenants, but how we enforce dockage rates, how we enforce tariffs. How can we negotiate with one tenant one way? Another tenant's lease comes up and we negotiate them very different. I think we're setting ourselves up for failure in that situation. Are we saying that one business is more important to the port now than some others? Tenants talk. Are we saying that, okay, if we negotiate rent over here because we're worried about jobs, we're worried about whatever it is, we negotiate a different rate with our shrimp boats on dockage? Because they're small business owners, they have a skin in the game, they employ people. So I think if we don't keep things consistent, we're setting us up for being on a very slippery slope going forward. And that's all I want is again, I'm not emotional about it. It's just, I want to make sure that we have some consistent structure in place that's based in some type of logic that we can calculate and use going forward.
Jody, based on that information, what would be your recommendation?
Well, Port Commission's recommendation was to go with the 1 year, to utilize the Valbridge report, $4,833.33. I don't have a crystal ball. As you know, if you're looking at strictly dollars and cents to Hillary's point, I can immediately go out for bids, and if we do have somebody that is willing to pay that, we'll get, over the course of the year, we'll get $48,000 versus $42,000. If we stick with them, again, it's a matter of, a known for the rest of this year versus an unknown. I do not disagree that we are under, that we're undervalued right now. So it's just a question though, whether, we want to work with them and potentially look at trying to negotiate a bigger lease next year with both 11 and 3 or not. Because I think it's pretty clear that if they leave track 3, they're not gonna want to renegotiate or stick with track 11 either. Because that just would make business sense.
Well,
But
that
again,
would probably go up as well, right? Track 11.
well, I can tell you that according to the Valbridge report, dramatically, because their track 11 is to be 37 cents a square foot. It's like, how many acres is 11? 11 is,
11.
is it 11 acres? Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's 11 acres. So
Yeah, I think
that's,
it's actually a little between 12 and 13, and the Valbridge appraisal, I believe is about 2.8 million on that. So that was another one of our points, is if this is the baseline where we don't, tenants aren't allowed to try to set some type of a negotiation, then our rent for 11 next year will go from approximately $2,500 a month to between 15 and 20,000 if we use the same methodology. I would invite everybody to go visit tract 11. It's been washing away for quite a while. It's very useful for us for pipe. It's of a good length for that, but there is no bulkhead. There's no mooring. And true to it, we have cleaned up the assets of others while we've been there as well. So again, that is a concern of ours as well. We factored that into trying to get it to 1 year. And hey, I completely agree that if these are the values that we feel, the city feels is the value of the property, then by all means, get to the point where that rent is due, or that the rent price that the city wants, that the city can get. Completely agree with that. I want the best for the city as well. Just as a business decision, it's very tough for us to enter into a 3-year lease when we don't know what the lease amount will be. And by our calculations of that baseline, that's what we're going to be anticipating next year. And that just doesn't fall in line with that. So, but as it sits right now, just getting to those where we can negotiate them at the same time for us is the biggest benefit.
So I guess all that being said, in my mind, that I don't think we have anyone knocking down the door to get in to fill the spot if they leave, right?
I'm not aware of anything. I mean, Jim, have you heard anything? No. But I mean, in fairness, we haven't advertised either.
Is there's nobody knocking down the Florence door because historically the board has never advertised its assets. Nobody is coming after your assets if you don't advertise. Now, I'll tell you this, is there are dramatic changes coming to this area. Changes, multi-billion-dollar investment type changes. The value of those assets aren't going down, folks. And the reason nobody wants them because nobody knows that they're available. That's one of the good things or neat things about the Port Commission is that you guys have allowed us some more money in our budget so that we can implement processes to go out there and actually start advertising for resources, advertising for assets. Part of what's incorporated in the rent is whenever you have a piece of commercial property, there's going to be wear and tear on it. Okay. So part of that is you incorporate is it's to rebuild your property, but also too is to cover any unexpected losses. Okay. And so I applaud Encore for the money that they put in the property. Now we would love to work with any tenant out there as long as there's open lines of communications. And I would say again, I wasn't here when those leases were written, but I wish Encore or any tenant out there, if they're going to make an investment in the property, could have come forward early and said, hey, look, this is our rent. We anticipate we're going to put $55,000 of improvements. How can we negotiate with that going forward? Our lease is coming up. Can we offset some of our rent with the improvements or maybe a 50-50 or whatever it is so that we do work as partners? I've sat on the boards of the Bay City Economic Development Corporation in Matagorda County. Okay, where we brought in multi-million-dollar operations. So I'm all about partnerships, having good, robust partnerships that creates jobs that shores up sales tax revenue and stuff like that. It's just historically, to be honest, historically the port wasn't run like a business. There's a lot of emotion associated with it, and you have a lot of assets out there that need work, that we're putting work into. And we're actually capturing revenues that the port historically had always missed.
Robert, so with the stuff that's going on across the bay, in the next few years, I mean, the value of our assets, I mean, they're going to be much more valuable just because we're close by. Is that right? Or
it's real estate. It's location, proximity to the jobs, proximity to all other people coming in out here and needing access to water. And we're sandwiched right in the middle between what's happening to the north of us, what's happening to the south of us. So we're trying to prepare for that, and we want to be good partners with all of our tenants. Again, my biggest concern is that we have to have some sort of defendable methodology going forward, that when we negotiate rents with any tenants out there, that we can look and say, this is what we did with Encore, this is what we did Helen, we can do this for you to make sure that there's no discriminatory practices or even perceived discriminatory practices. Just like, and again, we've set rates all over the place, and if there's a pushback, how do we deal with pushbacks? And having enough direction from council
to understand how to deal with that and to make sure that we're uniform across all platforms, whether it's rent, whether it's dockage, whether it's tariffs, because we deal with it all.
So, Mr. Knox, are you saying it's too late to negotiate with Encore with the investment they've already made? Like, okay, we're gonna forget that? I don't think, from what he said, they put down a concrete slab and put in water. I don't think that's stuff they can take with them.
Right.
That's an investment that they made that they can't take with them.
That's every.
What's keeping us from negotiating now with their rent to bring the rent down? Because that's just, okay, say, we're gonna charge them $4,800. They're gonna pay us $4,800 for a few months anyway until they can find another spot. But then we're gonna be looking for a tenant. And those, we can negotiate a rent with them, say, for the next 3 years until this other stuff moves in that hopefully doesn't, upset the oyster beds and the mercury. But we can negotiate a term with them up until that time when the property values really do go up. And it's gonna jump. This is gonna jump. But we're not, if that was something that you could have done then, why can't we negotiate the improvements they made to the property now for their upcoming rent?
Well, you bring up a good point. The problem is that when we look objectively at the valuation and what to charge, what's going to be the objective criteria that we can utilize to say what is fair? Because right now we're kind of using subjective criteria, and also too is are we just going to throw out the valuation that's been established by an independent third party with expertise in that area?
No, I understand that.
That's my biggest thing, because I'm not wishful about it,
I think a good starting point was, okay, is this something that really enhances our property, the improvements they made? Well, it's keeping our building from washing off and it's providing water to the deal. I think that is an enhancement. But say they put a tank out there that, okay, we'll never use that. And then they can't take it with them. We'd subtract from that. So if we look at the property, the improvements that they made, if it is beneficial to the city and enhancement to the property, I think we should give them credit for that towards their rent.
Well,
Can I just make a suggestion? So, I mean, I think there's a lot more issues than a single lease that we're dealing with here as far as discussion goes. I'd like to propose a motion to accept the 1-year lease at $3,500. And then we clearly need a workshop with
And a copy of that appraisal.
yeah, well, I think we're, because I agree exactly with
Well,
what.
I'm not really ready to go with 3,500,
You want to go higher?
a little higher.
Okay, well, because all these points are good, and if we want to, seeing as they did do, a lot of work with, for us, and if we are trying to get this partnership, we're kind of new to this, but we need to get moving forward. So if we.
Yeah, I want to move forward
if we do
because
1 year.
I really don't want to lose a good tenant.
Right.
One thing about Calhoun County, they'll give you tax abatements for, bringing in a company,
Right.
and they don't care if it's a foreign company or local people. I like local people. I like keeping local people in business. So if we can do something to help a company stay here, I'm all for it, but that's a different topic. You said 3,500 for a year. How do you feel about it, Justin?
I would agree, because they got 15, 20 jobs here, whatever it is. And they are looking, next year we'll be right back here talking about track 11, which is probably.
And 3, both of them.
Yeah,
Well,
both of them.
I mean,
If you do a
What
1
about
year,
you, Ms. Padron?
okay.
Well, I split the difference of the increase, and
Okay.
I came up with about $3,900. I'd want to go a little higher than 35,
Why?
Mr. Daniel?
just because.
I agree with what Roy's saying.
Well, my concern, okay, it's Port Lavaca, it's our fault because we've done this over the years. But the shock of 57% increase. It unbelievable. I know the other day when I came in, I was talking to Jimbo and the idea that, okay, how about midpoint between 3,100 and 48? And I came up with something like 40.
I can, well, I can't.
Yours was 3,900 and something. And
See, that's an
the
emotion.
idea of just say, they just happen to be the ones when we decided we're gonna straighten up, fly right, we're gonna do the right thing.
Give some time to understand our processes as we're moving up. And that they know that come in a year, it's gonna go higher because our appraisals will probably go higher.
Yeah.
So this will give them like a step into it. And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Knox, about we've got to have,
Yes.
so, but I think Councilman Dent is correct. We need a workshop to understand how it's all, the whole process of it.
Does that mean we do some more negotiation from this point? I realize that the contract is up.
Well, there's a motion on the floor for something that everybody's.
3,500.
They've offered.
500.
There's not a second. So,
Well, I would second that only because, I mean, yeah, they put $60,000 and they may just be there for another year. So they get, that's a good faith on their part and say they're gone after this next round of negotiations. That's a big loss. And it's a reward for us because whoever does eventually take that lease, we start off in a much better spot.
Stretch.
well, I think there's some agreement that we do want to use the appraisal, but the shock value of giving up. So I think, for this client, because of where we are right now in the period of their agreement, that's why I made the motion. Going forward, I think, we need to do exactly what Port Commission was asking, but I think council needs to have that discussion. So we don't get into these negotiations with every single client.
Yeah.
So,
Get that treated like a business.
so is there a second?
Yeah, Justin made a second.
Okay, so we got
You agree that?
what is-
3,500,
1 year,
For 1 year.
1 year.
3,500 for 1 year.
Oh, I would feel better with a higher.
That was the motion in the
That
second.
was a motion in the second. So you vote,
We have a motion and a second to approve a 1 year lease with Encore for $3,500 per month. Track 3. Then 1 year.
1 year.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Be opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Be opposed?
4-2.
Did you?
No, I'm going with 3,500.
Oh, okay.
I'm not opposed. Opposed.
Jim and Rose.
Two days.
Yes.
Mr. Knox, are there many empty properties out there at the port right now?
The other nay, I thought it was just Jim.
What was he?
We've got track 14.
You and Jim.
I'll say this, is the port will end up being biggest selling point.
I think so.
Right.
I think so too.
And that's what's exciting for me.
Yes.
Not only what's coming in this area and the opportunity that is before you. Quite honestly, as an outsider looking in, not having history here, is that I'll say bluntly, you guys just kept getting caught. And you guys kept undervaluing your assets. When you kept giving it away and every time you did, somebody utilize that asset, wasn't a good steward of it, and this is what you get left with. So I'm excited. I tell you, it's nice to work with an active council. I know there's history with the commission. I want to tell you, I encourage, anybody that would attend our meetings to come. Simply because I think we've got a good balance. We've got a good cross-section representation of experts and also people to represent the community as well. And again, we're taking really good strides and running like a business, putting a lot of structure, a lot of support for Jim over here. So we're capturing revenues that we've never captured before. And we're really doing things to make up proud.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you made a great presentation, so thank you
Yes.
for
We've
that.
got several leases that are long-term leases that we're not going to have an opportunity to do anything with for 10 to 15 years.
We can let them know.
But yeah,
Well, that's what
And that would come up in the workshop too, letting, like we get to voice our concerns, and the commission. would too.
Okay, so
January.
now does that work for y'all? Are you guys, okay, thank you.
We have the lease, I mean, we've got the lease document, it's just our standard lease document.
Okay,
Just the amount was what the issue was.
all right, so Christmas for a workshop?
January.
I think,
Okay, yeah, anyway, all right, so we had, done.
Vote of four
Voted.
to motion for the $3,500 up lead. For Encore is approved. That, move on to agenda item number 7. Back to agenda item number 7, which is to consider AECOM's task order number 8, wastewater treatment plant expansion. Cody?
okay, Mayor and Council. We have discussed a few times the current $39 million cost estimate for the expansion to the wastewater treatment plant. It's based upon 30% preliminary engineering design, and it includes quite a bit of contingency and uncertainty in the estimated total cost amount. So to tighten up on this estimate and have more confidence in the dollar amount needed to construct this mandated project, we must complete the engineering design. In your packet, AECOM has submitted a task order number 8, council's consideration. The basic and additional services of this task order total to $1.36 million, and it includes the final design, the geotech services, the environmental information document that's required, permit renewal, and bidding. And it's summarized on page 110 of your packet. Now, we've thus far, talking about how to finance this, we have thus far generated about $1.1 million of interest from the 2022 and 2024 series bonds, and we continue to gain interest. So we are proposing to utilize these interest funds to pay the costs for AECOM's task order number 12 until we are ready to close on the loan for the construction dollars. We will include in that single issuance of COs enough money to reimburse ourselves for this upfront engineering cost. It's one of the things I discussed with Water Development Board today to confirm that there would be no problem in doing that. Yeah, understanding what funds we are proposing to use upfront to pay for them. So we would need to do a reimbursement a resolution like we had proposed tonight, but it would need to be worded differently because this one was specific for this $2 million proposed. So it'd have to be reworded and to reflect the larger CO.
Certificate of obligation, explain how that works for a loan.
Okay, this is how we get the money from the Water Development Board. That's how they do it. And it is with the certificates of obligation, we have the option. It gives us much more flexibility. We have the option that when we pay this loan back, we pay it using sewer revenue or we can use property tax dollars. And we can make that decision each year at budget time. We don't have to set it in stone for the entire 30 years of the.
So you say it gives us more flexibility. What's the alternative that's not so flexible?
The alternative, which is what we did not apply for, the alternative would be revenue bonds. And so we are forced to only use sewer rates. And that really puts us in a box, and we probably would not get as good of a rate. Water Development Board would much rather have certificates of obligation because they like that flexibility. They, understanding that, it can.
So you don't just sign a loan agreement, you have to issue a certificate.
Right. Yes. And so.
Bring a bonding agent in and pay them.
Correct. Right. Yes, that's how it works.
So there's no other way to finance that doesn't require us to pay fees to a bonding.
No.
No.
Not that I can think of. That's the way it works.
Okay. So, okay.
Now, so with the authorization to proceed this month, AECOM has stated they will have 90% engineering completed by June. So at that time, that's when we would need to look at making application to the Texas Water Development Board for an extension or begin the process to close on the loan by our August 2025 deadline. Again, after talking with Water Development Board, we believe that with earnest and continued efforts on the part of the city, that we can reasonably expect the Water Development Board would approve an extension of 6-8 months or so, but not a year. The Texas Water Development Board no longer approves multi-year commitments. That's what I'm used to years ago. They used to do multi-year commitments. They don't do that anymore. And so they kind of let us know that there's probably no way that they're going to extend it for a year. But again, if we show continued efforts and an earnest effort to keep working, that it's reasonable for us to expect that they probably would approve an extension of 6 to 8 months. Now, by that time, I mean, that would reasonably put us like maybe February, March of 2026, the when we would need to close on this loan. We probably won't have bids back by that time, although, we'll be pushing the engineer, of course, but there's certain, he's got to have, well, I'll get back to that in a second. But even though we might not have bids, we would have a much better construction cost estimate based upon 100% completed design and a TCQ approval of design. Now, let me try to explain a little bit why we were proposing initially perhaps this $2 million CO, and then why that did not work out. Because we finally got clarification from Texas Water Development Board about a week ago, last week, I guess, that we could do this in 2 issuances. So we could go ahead and borrow enough money just to pay for the engineering. So I said, great, okay, we'll do that. Then we found out, because the engineer was unavailable to talk to us for a few days. And once he did get back on board, we realized that one of the requirements with the Water Development Board, we could borrow that money, but they're not going to give it to us until the environmental information document is done and approved. That process can take a year or more, 13, 14 months. So even if we closed on this loan in January, we wouldn't be looking at getting the money feasibly until March of 2026, which is about the time we're going to need to close on the overall anyway. So there was no reason to go ahead and do that now. That what we could do and should do instead is just wait and include this money that we're going to spend up front on the engineering, add that to this construction cost that hopefully will be under $39 million. And then we can pay ourselves back if we choose to do that. We can pay ourselves back and then again use that money for streets and drainage. So that again, we're providing flexibility for what we're wanting to do. Again, we wouldn't have to if we came down to it and we didn't want to, we wanted to limit the amount we wanted to borrow. We're just using this interest we got from 2022 and 2024 bonds for this purpose. But what we're doing is offering an opportunity that then later on we can reimburse ourselves this funds and then still have it for more streets and drainage down the road.
Add to that, Jody.
Yeah.
One thing that's of importance to note is if we would have went the $2 million route with Water Development Board, AECOM would have had to focus solely on the environmental information document and couldn't have started engineering until it was complete and accepted.
Right, yeah, I forgot to say that part.
We go about this route, they can run concurrently.
Yeah, they can do it together. Because there's no requirement for our money, we can still pay them to do it both. What's going to be on critical path is still potentially environmental information document, because according to their schedule, they're running the same time, but that's maybe even last a little bit longer to get all the approvals, even than the design drawings. So, but once that environmental information document is approved and the engineering, design drawings and everything's approved by TCQ, which right now we're thinking Marchish of 2026, that's when we would be able to bid. I don't, depending on when that really happens, we may, it's most likely we're not going to be able to wait till bid in order to close on loan unless, things are going faster than right now we think they are, or Water Development Board might entertain a little bit longer extension to get us to the point of actually bidding the project. But even if we don't have actual bid documents or bid numbers, we would have an estimate based upon, again, 100% design. Everything's been approved by TCQ. And so and a contingency would be put in there because, hopefully we don't want to borrow this and find out we're short. But it would be much tighter than our current estimate, $39 million.
If we don't close the loan by what, August of next year, then we lose it?
No, well, that's what I'm saying. They have told us that as long as we're not just farting around, we're moving forward and doing things. That we can reasonably expect that they will grant us an extension up to like 6 to 8 months, which is gonna, push us into 2026. And again, if we've got a good timeline and we've really been going, maybe they'll give us 9 months.
Okay.
But again, I want to make it clear, nothing is guaranteed, but they couldn't come out and say that either, but they really wanted us to know that they want to work with us. And as long as we are working as well, that right now they don't see any reason why we couldn't work together as long as we're not thinking about an extension that would be over a year. Because, that's kind of a deal breaker. They said that's not going to happen.
So we won't be issuing any COs until
Correct.
next year late.
So what we're proposing to use is this interest we have generating, sitting in Logic, making money using that. And again, we're not going to need all that at one time. It'll take them the whole year to do design work.
Okay.
And so it'll, we're continuing to gain interest on the money that's sitting in Logic. We leave it there as long as we can to generate money. So
We're just gonna use the interest off of it.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's that money that wasn't earning anything at that other bank. Remember that, Tim?
Well, that's right. So we don't buy the lift station then.
Well, but what I'm saying is that we, at whatever point we sell, we can reimburse ourselves. And then we would have that money again to do something else with.
All right. Well, I just have to say, because nobody likes to hear me say this, but just saying, we had 3 operating companies look at our sewer plant and none of them said they would build a new plant. So we decided to build a new plant, which I'm not happy about. So this is the process that we have to do that. So I think.
Yeah, but
I'm like you, I'm not happy with it.
We need to. So.
And it seems like engineering could come up with some alternative ideas, some creative thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and in the engineering design, again, we got to remember we're at 30%. So we've still got majority of the design work to do. And we have talked to them and and they are going to be looking to make sure we're not building a Cadillac, we're building a Chevy. But we also have to understand that they and we are going to be in constant communication with TCQ, and there may be some things TCQ tells us we got to do. And so, unless we're looking at trying to somehow challenge that.
Yeah, that was on the table at one time. We talked about us hitting these limits during COVID, which the whole state hit these limits, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think, but that has more to do with timing, not just, you just don't have to do it. But as it is right now, we kind of are stretching this out. We're taking our time, but we're still marching forward. We're not stalling.
Yeah.
Even at best, we're
not
dragging our feet. We're not stalling. We are moving forward.
Because we were,
Just like a turtle.
I'd
Yeah.
say we're just slow walking then if we're not stalling,
That's why we're
one slow.
we're authorizing the engineer to get
consider the timeline, that it would take a year to do
Right, I did not realize, I mean,
Whatever.
years ago, I mean, I remember the environmental information document could take like 6 months, maybe even 9 with all the approvals, but I was not realizing it was going to take as long as they were showing it was going to take. And it's not that it takes that long to write the report. It just takes that, just like a Army Corps permit, you know, it just takes that long. You submit it, review, back and forth. It just, in reality, it can take that long to finally get this approval and dotted line. And that's, they won't release any money until that happens.
What we need to do tonight is.
I mean, if we're prepared to go ahead and approve the task order, they will get started, and he's telling me that the plan is to have at least 90% done, if not more, by June. If we were to wait and do this in December, that would just move to July. But again, you know, this understanding that we're going to have a decision to make in June as far as where we're at. So the farther along we are, the more information we've got to make that decision as far as making a realistic, make an application to Water Development Board for a realistic extension, or if for some reason they deny us, that we are prepared then to look at the next step, to get the bond, right?
So all in all, that's how we're doing % chance that we
That's what she said. So like.
are gonna get away with not building this plant.
The money.
I can't, I mean, with the information I have right now, no, I mean, it would take outside political influence of some sort.
Yeah.
But following the rules and following everything, all the guidance and everything that we've got so far, no. We've been mandated to do this currently.
It's just, it's hard to say, yeah, let's do it, knowing that there's still a chance that we don't have to. Cause you're talking, what was it, $40 a month for everybody's bill?
It could be.
See, the
35.
problem though, is
But
that we're talking about the growth that takes place here in Calhoun County because of all these things taking place. They take place when you talk to the contractors and they say, well, your sewer line, your sewer usage is up to way up there, 75 or 80% or whatever it is. And you want to build some more homes and you want to have some more business here and you want more sewer potential, whatever.
Right.
Okay, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to build. We're going to have to do something because you can't. Like I said, I've had one contractor said, we're not going to do anything because you're right there at the line.
And again, like we mentioned a couple of meetings ago, that although, I mean, we're engaging the engineer, we're going to start the design. That doesn't mean that we're just going to sit back and wait for it to be done. We will continue to look and see, are there other sources of financing or grants available? To date, we have.
That's what I wanted to ask.
We come up empty, but that's, you know, I mean, that we're still pursuing that and looking at that.
We have to do something. We can't
Yeah.
just sit here and just, oh, maybe we won't have to do it. You know, it's going to have to be done, period.
I have
Yeah,
seen.
but you don't know that. There's not a 0% chance, or it's not 100% chance that we gotta build it. Why would you commit all these?
Why would PCEQ say, well, sure, go ahead. If you have your sewer running out in the street because you don't have the capacity to.
I know you're talking extreme, but I mean, maybe it's a set of data they're looking at that's, I don't know, maybe it's wrong, or maybe there's other factors on it. You gotta look at the whole picture. You're talking about spending $39 million.
I understand, but you're gonna have to bite the bullet sometime.
Like the water plant, you know, we had to build a $90 million water plant.
Oh, yeah, well,
We didn't. We spent.
no, but that's because they were gonna put it out on 35 and do it, complete new infrastructure and everything like that.
Engineering companies are self-serving, so.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to increase our capacity. We have to do that.
All right.
Or we
Again, do we need to approve this?
Yep.
I mean, if council's prepared to do it tonight, I'm prepared. I mean, nothing's going to change other than if you guys want to think about it. But if we approve it tonight, they've committed to get, like I said, 90% done by June. If we wait and do it in December, which, I mean, we can do that, and it just pushes it their
That's-
commitment to the
That's
law.
why you do it.
Is it gonna cost us more if we ask them to create it?
No,
Not come up with a whole new plan?
their contract is their contract. No, we're,
one of the better, AECom is one of the better ones.
Make application in June for extension of water development. So if we postpone this, we don't have the data we need till July,
that's
so
the,
we don't know.
I mean, that's why, that was kind of the urgency of the whole thing, is the timing worked out great. If we can get this.
Jim, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn. Just kidding, just kidding. Make a motion, we accept this.
Task order number 8. Motion and a second approving AECom's task order number 8 for the treatment plant as presented, expansion as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
No, for you.
Okay.
Now, for clarification, we're going with this amount for the 1,357 for the,
The task order is for 1.36.
what is that?
We will see.
Next. Did you get Justin?
Okay.
Then that came to.
Make a motion, we adjourn now.
I second that.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same sign.
Yeah, before y'all leave, I've got a packet here that I want, kind of some homework for you. For the December meeting, it was, for the December meeting, we're gonna be bringing.
Justin.
Justin opposed to that?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't- telling me that.
It was five too much, Justin.
Hardly wait.
Well, in the December meeting, we're gonna be bringing to you, a Title VI policy. That's required so we can maintain our eligibility with, some other federal grants. But there's a lot to it, so I wanted to give each of you a hard copy. You can read through it at your leisure over the next month and we.
Set it by your bed, you'll sleep well.
What?
Set it by your bed and you'll sleep well.
Yes.
So is this the one for Monday?
No. We'll bring this back December.
It says Title B1, not 6.
It's Title VI.
We don't meet again until December, right?
You need to send that recommendation to the department,
Still meeting Monday, 5:30.
What is the discussion?
On Monday,
Yes.
okay, can we?
We're not gonna have any more special meetings.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too, but GLO had other plans.
Okay, so can we adjourn this meeting or?
Did we adjourn?
We are adjourned,
We have a vote.
Jim made a motion to adjourn and Alex seconded it.
and we voted.
And we voted.
Okay, good.
Nobody was against adjourning.
No, we did.
All right, so we meet again this.
government efficiency.
What is it about?
Send that recommendation.